So then when we have a cost estimate, that cost estimate is composed by several elements. The scope of work, right? We need to know what the scope of work is. The ground rules, we talked about that before, that was our assumptions. And then you put together a schedule, how long each one of those tasks is going to take from your work breakdown structure. And then that figures out how many labor hours you need to transfer the raw materials into your final product. So you have the time frame that comes from the schedule. Then these labor hours are applied by people that have different skills. So each one of those skills have different rates. So you need to multiply the skills and rates by the correct labor hours to get your labor cost. Here you have your material cost. You basically take down from the drawings how much area, volume, linear feet you need. You count items. You take the quantity of material, multiply by the unit prices to get your material cost, or you get quotation from different contractors. So that goes into your cost estimate as well. Figure out your labor, your materials, and then you start adding other costs. Other direct costs, you may have travel, other indirect costs, general and administrative costs. And then on top of that, you add your fee or profit, and then you charge your customer the price, right? Sometimes we will also do a risk assessment, figure out what can go wrong, how much is that going to cost you, and then add a cost of contingencies, in case the things go wrong. So we need labor hour, rates, material, tools, equipment, and all these costs to figure out how much our cost is going to be. We add overhead and profit. We have overhead, it's divided normally into two portions. These are indirect costs. So we have the office, the job overhead, what you need to do on the job site that is not going to be left for the owner. You have to do it in order to get the job done. Salaries for cleaning employees, for example, temporary offices, temporary buildings, utilities, drinking water. All of this stuff is generally considered overhead or indirect cost. So you add that to your direct cost. The customer may ask you to have bonds. You may have performance bonds, you may have payment bonds, you may have different type of bonds. These are like insurance, but not exactly an insurance. It's a way to guarantee that your employees or your subcontractors will get paid if you don't perform. That's a performance or a payment bond. The owner may say, well, I'm not sure if you really can do this work to the level of my expectations. So they set up a performance for you to match, and then attach a performance bond. So if you don't perform in the way that the customer wants, then they will get paid. But then the bonding company, which is a surety, the third party, will go behind and try to collect that money from you. That's the difference between insurance and a bond. In insurance, you pay an insurance company to protect you against a loss. That can be for theft or fire or whatever it is. And if that event happens, the insurance is not going to charge you again, right? In the bond, it's different. You pay for the bond, but then if you fail, the owner gets paid and you get back charged by the surety company. So you have a performance bond, you may have payment material or payment bond in case that you don't pay your suppliers. And these costs are also associated with your cost estimate. So the cost of a bond depends on 1,000 factors. How large your company is, what is your record, how many years you've been in the business, if you're doing work that you usually do, or if you're going out for a different type of work. All of those things are considered by the surety company, and then they charge you for that cost. So that's a different, it may be different for different companies. Then you have insurance, workers' compensation, builder's risk, fire insurance, equipment insurance, burglary, theft, or whatever. Any of these insurances, all of those are costs that add to your project and are indirect costs, right? So you need to consider those when you're preparing your cost estimate. So here we have sort of the major cost elements. We have materials, labor, and subcontractors. We may have other costs that are direct costs. So this is how much you're going to spend in building that product that the owner required. Maybe the architect has an allowance. This is for items that are not really clear at the beginning of the project. So then they say, well, we're going to set up an allowance for tables of this much, and then when we decide what type of table it is, we'll use the right number. So that is included into your direct cost. Then you have the contingency. You say, well, if something goes wrong, how can I recover from that? So you add a contingency. If something is not as expected, you have that amount over there that pretty much can cover you in case of troubles. Then you have indirect cost, you have engineering fees. This will be your construction cost. Then you add the overhead, and on top of that, your markup. So that's going to be the sale price that you set up for that project. Obviously, if you add too much contingency or too much overhead or too much markup, you may run the risk of losing the job, right? If you don't have enough overhead, you may not have enough money to do the operations of the company. If you don't have enough contingency, you may have troubles that then you will have to pay from your own pocket. That goes down from the profit. So it's a little bit tricky in how to determine which one, how much to charge for each one of those. The labor that we have as a direct cost is going to depend on several factors. One of those is if you're working with a union or an open shop. So you have different costs. When you're working, you will just get the cost from your payrolls or from the people that do the accounting. Or you will get a cost of materials from your suppliers, so from your subcontractors, so you will know exactly how much to charge. For the course, we're going to use the reference cost that we have from RSMeans. Then we have material equipment. Equipment has different sections. We have operating costs, fuel, the operator itself. We may have repair cost, insurance, taxes, storage, depreciation, interest. If you're renting the equipment, then you have only one cost, the cost of renting. And that normally includes the cost of the operator. Then you have tools, different tools. Well, this is tools to do the estimate, right? So we have material, equipment, labor, and then now we need the estimator itself needs to have some tools to put together all these elements into the cost estimate. So we're going to use Excel, we're going to use on-screen takeoff, and we're going to use Witness as our tools for the estimate. There is a lot of estimating software out there. It depends on the operating systems, if it is Windows application, so you have it in your computer, or if it is a web-based application. There are several different types of software that you can find. here is a table that I put together some time ago. I'm sure this has changed over the years, but it shows you, different software that people use in the industry. We're going to use this one, On-Screen Takeoff and QuickBase. These two are made by the same company. It's called OnCenter. So if you visit the OnCenter website, you will see, a lot of information for that software. Considerations for the software that if you want to use, are you using the old master format? You guys familiar with the master format is, right? And the CSI codes and all that stuff? Okay, good. So if it is this old 16 codes for the division, or if you're using the 50 codes, those are things that you may want to consider when deciding which software to use. All right. Integration and so on. So this is the a little bit of background on the CSI and the master format. This is a standardized list of items that are put together for construction. So in 1995, they came up with these 16 divisions. So basically, they break down the building into these 16 divisions: general requirements, site construction, concrete, masonry, metals, wood and plastic, and so on. Then it changed in 2004 from 16 divisions to 70, right? From which we normally use 50. And most of those are the same 16 divisions, but put together in different places. So we have existing conditions: concrete, masonry, metal, wood and plastic, thermal and moisture, openings, finishes. Those kind of remain the same. Then we have conveying equipment, special construction. Then we have these ones reserved. And then it goes to fire suppression, plumbing, HVAC, automation, and so on. So these are the full list of divisions. I call it 50, but it's here. I don't think that is right. 65, that's wrong. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this, because they go up to 50, and electrical is 26, not 69, not 65. Well, anyway, there is I have published in the website. If you go to our course website, in the cost in the cost reference section, the first one, I believe, is this third one, CSI master format, number and titles. This one is the list from CSI. So it goes 0000 procurement and contracting requirements, and you can go down. This has a lot of detail in each one of those divisions and what is included into each one of those and their code numbers. So these code numbers are important because most companies, they use the same CSI code to keep track of their expenses. So this ties to their accounting system. Okay? Not everybody does the same thing, but that's kind of the idea, to standardize the codes in some way. All right. Then we have, we talked about these, all the different elements in the cost estimate. We need to estimate direct cost and indirect cost. So basically, really, what it boils down is to figure out the labor cost. How many hours you need multiplied by the rate that you're paying, how much material you need, which is the area of the measurement multiplied by the unit price, unit cost, plus the equipment, and then you add the indirect cost. And that is your cost estimate.